Okay, so it is, let's see, getting near the end of September. It's September 18th. And oh boy, has the last month been absolutely crazy. I think I posted this on the channel. I know I posted it in the Discord and I've like let the people in my life know. But I had a very, very close friend from, out of the country, come visit, and it's been absolutely amazing. She is basically family. Like, my children love her, and basically when she got back, my son, who's older, was like, finally our family's whole again, like, we're all together again, because, like, she was with us for a whole year, watching my kids for a while, and, like, she's just a member of the family, so it's been absolutely wonderful having her here. But because of that, I put basically every other part of my life on hold while she was here, so I haven't done much sword stuff. I haven't gone to any classes or practices. I haven't been doing really much filming. I haven't been doing much writing. Basically, the thing I told myself was like, okay, we're going to do things with her and hang out with her and screw everything else, which I think is the way to do it, but it has definitely left some, it's going to be some adjusting getting back to normal after this. So she's here until, Saturday, so it's Wednesday, so a little bit longer, but I'm starting to prepare myself for what I want to do once she leaves, both because it's going to be really hard and sad when she leaves again. I was very sad when she left the first time, it was a very hard adjustment for us. But I'm getting ready for that, so I wanted to kind of talk you through what I'm kind of thinking as I work on getting started again, because I have a lot of world building stuff I want to do, some guide stuff I want to do. I have obviously my own books that I want to work on. And I've been using a lot of time to reflect, right, on the way I have been planning and doing things that I think I want to adjust a little bit going forward now that I've had this time to kind of sit back and I have to really reset everything back up. And also this partially came with, it's Q4's just around the corner, and so all the 2025 planners were coming out, and I've been thinking about that a lot because I love planners. I love planner hopping, and I love resetting up planners and then not following them super consistently, but then doing them anyway. I love planners. So I've been thinking about it so that I know which ones I want to order, because I want to get some more less normal ones that you can order normally off Amazon, ones that take a while to get or are gonna sell out. So I've done that, and I've been getting everything together, and there are 2 things that I'm going to be trying. So the first thing is just that I think that I'm really struggling right now with deadlines, and I found that when I give myself a really constraint, I have these tasks and this time to do it in, even if I tell myself I'm going to be flexible, my brain is like, okay, well, we want to check that off and move on to the next thing. So it kind of is just doing the bare minimum, which I've been finding with world building is just not working for my brain. I really need to tap into that ADHD creative hyper focus thing where I just let myself go wild and figure out these problems. But I also still need to be organized enough to have lists and figure out how I want to do all this, and I just need to do it less as a random checklist thing. That is not working for me, and having the deadlines isn't working for me. If you saw my last world building guide video, or either of the 2, which are ores and mineralogy and deposits and gemology, something like that, that got so out of hand. Those videos, I think it's close to 2.5, 3 hours of footage total in those videos. The guides are incredibly long. I think my script that I'd been working on, my document that I was building when I was working on this process is I think it's almost 70 pages long. That was a lot. And for some reason, my brain never acknowledged that this was a lot. In theory, I should have known. I should have looked at the word count and been okay, just reading this out long, how long would this take? And taken that into account, but I didn't, and I gave myself deadlines, and then I basically killed myself over 2 weekends getting those filmed and all the little bits and pieces put together, the blog posts and the presentations I use, and film it and edit it, and then I went extra in editing the second one, which is 2 hours long. And it was a lot. It was a lot. And I need to not do that to myself again, because I literally laid on the floor. I cried making those videos. I am not going to lie to you. Like, I got so burnt out. Like, when I say I spent like every moment of those weekends working on this, I did. And I also then made up all that time that my husband watched my kids and watching my kids later, and just the whole thing was atrocious. Like, I am so proud of that, and I'm so happy I did it, but the way I did it was a problem. Like, I literally laid on the floor at a few points, because I was also having really bad technical difficulties with filming it, where I would move I would pull up the script on the little teleprompter thing, and then if the connection from my remote that I was using to like scroll and pause disconnected, it would delete the script. And I luckily didn't create them in there originally, so I would have to go back, copy the files back over, scroll down, which was very tedious, figure out where I was, start back up again. Like, it was just... I really should have made a video of all the clips I cut out where that happened in my filming, where the first few times I was just like, ugh. And then I started getting frustrated, and I started getting mad, and like at one point I'll be like talking normally, and all of a sudden I'm like, what the... You know, like just cursing, and at one point I just like screamed and like collapsed on the floor and was just like, I hate my life. Why did I do this to myself? I just want to delete every single thing of this so that I don't have to do it again, and it's over and I'm done. We're not going to do that again. At all. So I found a few things that I think will be interesting going forward, where is my notebook? There we go. First off, I'm trying this new like binder notebook thing for my notes, which if you remember my last notebook, I put tabs in it to give myself sections for research and notes and planning so that I can have it all in one book, but have it organized, because I found that if I just have a book and I just write straight through, I can never find anything. So I'm trying this out now, and it's actually working pretty well because you can just switch pages around. So I'm giving this a go. And I'm sort of doing the exact same thing, except now I can add more pages to sections and remove sections and replace the sections. Okay, here we go. So I was doing some research, and I found the Constellation system, which is by Rachael Stephen, I think is how you pronounce that. They have a YouTube video and a Patreon and all that stuff. I'll link that below. And there's a course that I think has most of it, and the system's still in process. So, like, I can't find comprehensive information about it, but I found enough in both. There's like a blog post about introducing it, which I'll link below, and then there's a couple videos where she's like going through her planner and like shows it. So I've sort of like latched onto some of the high level concepts, and I'm gonna not go too deep into it, even though I haven't gotten to like much of the paid content because I can't get into the course. It's not running right now, but I'm not gonna get that deep into it because it's like behind a paywall, you know? But it's this idea that you can separate all the things you have to do into different domains and then break those into like projects, like things that you're doing and trying to finish, and then things that are more like what are they? They're like rituals, but they're sort of like routines, like things you have to do on like continuously. And stuff like that. And I like that idea of thinking about it that way, because I tend to, when I hyper-focus on certain parts of my life, I tend to neglect other parts. And sometimes I think it helps me to be more intentional about those things, just to make sure I can accomplish them. So one of the things I really want to focus on more is like there's a section in it that's like connection and focusing on like your relationships with other people. And I think it would help me to be more intentional about planning like quality time with my family. Not that I don't do these things, but I tend to do them very spontaneously, right? Like it's that ADHD side of me that's like, oh, let's go do this thing. Versus like, there are just certain things I'd really like to do with my kids that just I need to be more intentional about. And also like my husband and I tend to just like hang out with each other when we're like tired of doing other things, you know, like it's like, let's do these tasks. Oh, we're tired. Let's watch TV together. Whereas I'd rather spend some like intentional time with him, and like the things that you have to pre-plan out to do, like not dates, right? Which we struggle with too, but like just things, like normal things, you know, like regularly. So I want to try thinking about that more intentionally. There's like ways to track like taking care of your house and like the things you have to do to like as part of your income, and like just lots of different areas that I like that idea of, and just kind of reminding myself, because I have this problem that just because I'm not doing all of this stuff for like my writing stuff and my goals for that, like doesn't mean I'm not getting things done and accomplishing things. And if I can write down and be keeping track of like, I spent really good quality time with my kids today. Like I may not have gotten any writing done, but I spent really good quality time with my kids, and that matters, and that's important, and that's okay, right? Like that is not failing. That is still me doing something really good, right? And just like all those things were like, I'll focus so much on the things that I do track and the things I do record, and I feel like if I'm not doing those, I'm not getting anything done. But there's so many other parts of my life that either I neglect sometimes, like my house, or like, you know, like that whole side of it. So I want to not go that deep, because like I don't want to have a super complicated planning structure for this, but like I want to incorporate some of those high level concepts. And I also want to incorporate the idea of like the rituals, which I'm not sure if I'm interpreting these correctly from this, but I saw it in one of the videos on the page, and I really liked it. This idea of you have a ritual that you do, which is basically, it's sort of like a routine, but you have a start, which is easy to get into, and then you have other things that are optional. And as long as you do that first thing and you start it, you've done it no matter how much you've done. And the person who I saw that did this first has ADHD. And I can't find that video. If I find it, I'll link it below. But that idea of the opportunity cost of starting to do things for me is a big deal. So like sitting down to write can be kind of overwhelming, because I'm like, okay, I have to figure out what I was doing and catch back up and pull everything up and do all these things. And like there's a lot of stuff there that I have to do to start writing that can make it harder to get started. And it's also a big time commitment, right? And the same thing with like cleaning my house. It's like, oh my gosh, my house is such a mess. My house is always a mess. And it's just so overwhelming to get started doing that. But once I get started, it's a lot easier. So I really like the idea of having these little routines where it's like, here's one thing that's super easy that I can set up and prepare it to be super easy to do. And I just have to sit down and do that thing, and then I check it off. But then it has all the optional things under it that I really need to do that, like, once I'm into it, as assuming I have the energy and the spoons and all that stuff, like I can do them. Like for like the house maintenance part, like I can do the dishes, like where you kind of neaten up the kitchen, you get the dishes rotated, maybe it's emptying the dishwasher, maybe it's whatever. Like I can do that. That's pretty reasonable. That's something I do often enough that, and it's right there in front of my face, that it's easy to do that. And then from there, then I can, okay, maybe I pick a space. Maybe I pick up the living room today, or my room, or this or that, or maybe I do one of my deep cleaning projects. And just something like that where in my head it's like I start here and then I decide how much further I want to go. And I have that flexibility to do that. And I think that will work well with my brain. I want to do the same thing for like exercising, where it's like, okay, do your like 2 minutes of some stretches. And then if you want to go and do your full PT stretches, go for it. If you want to row, go for it. If you want to like do like crunches and push-ups and like some like body weight exercises, go for it. If you want to then take a shower to like feel good afterwards, go for it. And it's all part of that like same routine ritual thing. And I love the idea of doing that. So I'm going to try and do that sort of a thing. And then okay. The other thing I saw, which was an article interviewing Jessica McCabe. It was on ADD Etude, which I think is a website. I'll link it below, assuming I find it again. But she's the author of How to ADHD. And the article was talking about something called a DopaMenu, which is a very ADHD thing. And I'm not going to use it necessarily like this, but it's this idea of like trying, like your body, your brain wants dopamine, right? And so when you're like super low on dopamine, you're not going to make the best choices about how to fulfill that dopamine, like the doom scrolling on your phone. Like it's not actually going to give you how much dopamine you need, which is why you just keep going and going and going. Like it's the cycle. And you don't actually enjoy it. You don't feel satisfied. And like afterwards you're like, oh, I just wasted all this time. And so it's this idea of figuring out the things you can do that boost your mood without, like, feeling regret or anything like that, and feeling like you wasted your time. And I want to kind of take this idea and focus it more on, like, my productivity stuff, because it breaks it down into a bunch of sections. Like, there's, like, appetizers, which is very similar to that routine thing, where it's really quick, it doesn't suck you in, it gives you a little burst of dopamine, it's, like, small, easy thing that you can just do to get yourself started, right? Same kind of concept. So, like, things that they listed were, like, cup of coffee, listen to your favorite song, have a snack, have a warm shower, just something to, like, get you going where you're like, I feel like I have a little bit more energy to, like, get over the, what's the word? I said it earlier. I've forgotten it. The opportunity cost, I guess, of getting started on something bigger, right? Like, you give yourself enough of a boost, enough of a little battery charge that you can then do that. It's like jumping your car. And then you have, like, an entree, which is going to be more time consuming, has that higher opportunity cost, something that if you're really low on dopamine and you're just like, oh, like, you're not going to want to start that because you're like, that just takes too much effort to get going. I can't, right? Which I feel a lot. And so you then have your tasks like that. And that feels like the same thing as that ritual thing to me, where you have that small thing and then those bigger things that you can do, right? And then it also goes into, like, other things that I don't know if I'll necessarily incorporate, but, like, things that you can do alongside more boring tasks. So, like, music, podcasts, audiobooks, stuff like that. And then little, like, desserts, which are easy to overdo, that you do at the end, after you've already done the productive stuff, which I think is useful. It's like TV, reading, video games, that sort of thing. And I have realized about myself that there are certain categories of books that send me into, like, a dopamine spiral. Sort of similar to, like, when you're just scrolling through, like, a thing. The books definitely, I think, give me more dopamine than that, and I don't necessarily regret reading, right? But I will get hyper-focused, and I just get sucked in to certain types of books, like the ones that are more higher paced, or faster paced, more like that sort of thing, you know? Those will suck me in, and I will not want to do anything else, and I will just, like, do that, and then it's just, like, I feel like doing anything else won't give me as much dopamine as that, or, like, it's like I'm just enjoying it so much, and it's like I don't want to do anything else, and it's just really hard to make myself do other things. So I like the idea of doing that, although I don't necessarily like the idea of that being at the end, which for me would normally be, like, bedtime, because I need to sleep, but I think maybe it could still work. It's like that idea, right? So I want to incorporate those with what I've done in the past, which is the, like, Sarah Cannon Heart Breathing's HB90 type method, where you do, like, the 90-day time blocking stuff. I like that, but I think it's a little bit too rigid for me, and I found that my weeks are just so crazy that, like, I don't know what's going to happen, and things always change. This is part of that, like, ADHD thing where I spontaneously will agree to do things, even though I hate doing things spontaneously, but I also I get bored easily. I don't know. It's fine. But my schedule adjusts a lot, and I also never know how I'm going to feel, right? So, like, how much energy I'm going to have. You could say how many spoons I'm going to have. Like it just depends on so many things, like how stressful work is, how difficult of a time my kids are having. Like, there's just so many factors that can affect what I'm feeling up to doing. And if what I had planned to do I don't feel up to doing, I revert to something like, okay, well, I can't do that, so I guess I'm just going to, like, you know, pick up a, you know, trashy novel and read it in the bathtub, which is fine, but not when I do that, like, every day. So I just want to have it be more flexible, but also planned, but also, like, I don't know, right? So I'm working on that. I don't have a full thing. Once I figure it out, I will probably set up my Q4 planner with that sort of a structure and go that direction. Which I think is going to be something like where I section off all my little time blocks that I'm going to have for the week. And then I set myself an order of, like, these are the priorities. And then depending on how many I end up having for that week, I will, like, I can do whichever ones whenever. And I'll do it more like, okay, we're going to work on YouTube stuff. We're going to work on writing stuff. We're going to, you know, have some really good quality time with my husband or my family. We're going to, you know, work on my research. Like, stuff like that where I can sort of choose what I'm feeling up to and what I'm feeling really motivated to do and focus on that. And so I have like a little, let me see if I can pull this out for you. It's the other fun thing about this. But this is sort of like what it looks like right now, if you can see that. Where I've just been playing with like, I have a week, I have the blocks, then I'm using some symbols. Some of them are from that like Constellation system thing, and some are just ones I made up. And I think I want to do something like that. Maybe. I don't know. Something along those lines. So, yes, I've been trying to figure that out. And I've also been trying to figure out what I want my goals to be for like my writing stuff and my projects, because there's so much stuff I want to do right now. Like, where even is this? I have so much stuff I want to do. I'm so excited about things. Like, that's also the problem with me taking a month not doing things, is that I'm just like, I feel like I'm like, I want to do all the things. But I think my plan is, once I get through the beginning of October, right? So, yes, I'm going to be focusing on my craft potion book, both with world building it and writing it, and I'm going to kind of split my time on that. And then I think I have a writing retreat mid-November, which I'm going to do a final push on the drafting for that. And then after that, I'm going to switch over to Magic Forged revisions, which I have Critique Partners reading right now. We're doing like weekly swaps or bi-weekly swaps. So I've been getting a lot of really, really helpful feedback. Like, really, really helpful feedback. It's been amazing. And so I'll be ready to kind of dive into that. So that's what I'm thinking there. I went back and forth a lot on what order I wanted to do things, but I think that's what I want to do. Also because my craft potion book is like very like witchy, a little bit gothic, you know, it's got that vibe. And I feel like working on that in like fall is going to be fun. I want to do like a writing vlog, like a moody one where I'm like, where even is my hat? I have my little like witch's hat that I like to wear when I'm working on it. And I have like various other little things, like look at this jar that looks like a mushroom. I don't know. It looks like a mushroom. I don't know. We'll put it somewhere. But I just want to like lean into the vibes of that story this time of year, where I think it'll be perfect, and just do a lot of really good drafting on it. Yes. And then I'll get back to how I'm organizing the world building stuff I want to do for that. But then the next world building guide thing I'm working on is going to be going back over to the cultural world building guide series, where I focus on the next stage, which is going to be like Middle Ages and imperialism, and sort of building these era maps where we kind of set up our like classical antiquity map, and now we're going to like build eras on, and each one of those new eras is going to have layers of conflict and change and things that are going to happen, which will build the history, which we will then use in combination with like geographical features, climate features, whatever, to figure out what challenges this society will have had to adapt to survive, which could be, you know, like if they've been colonized, or if they, you know, teamed up with these other groups to fight off this, you know, other power that was threatening them, and now they've become the superpower. And like there's a lot of that historical stuff that goes into culture that's not just like, oh well, you know, they're in the mountains so they have to adapt to be like this. Like, really get into that more. And so I have some books to read for all of that. And not all of it's going to be like directly for this part. Some of it's going to tie into later parts we're going to do, but I'm going to really like dive into Earl. I think that's how you pronounce that, but Timothy Earl. He's been recommended to me, and I think yes, 3 of these books are from him. And the main one here is How Chiefs Come to Power. And he's apparently absolutely brilliant when it comes to like Bronze Age societies, which those kinds of societal structures really hold over for a very, very long time. Mostly through to the eras that I'm interested in. Like, I don't like doing modern stuff. I don't know if I'm even going to do the Age of Discovery and, like, global trade and all that. Like, I don't know if I'm going to go that far. But this is going to be awesome. So I have some really good books here that I'm going to read for that, which I think will be relevant for, like, it'll tie into Middle Ages and be relevant there, and just general society building. I also have this by Michael Mann, which is The Sources of Social Power, A History of Power from the Beginning to AD 1760, which is like exactly what I need in my life. And then I need to go back in and read The State in the Ancient Near East and Mediterranean, which I'm excited about. I have a few other new books that I need to get into. If I do go into international trade and do the Age of Discovery, I need to wrap this in, which I haven't read yet. It's International Trade in the Middle Ages, which someone in my Discord recommended. And then the other book I want to read at some point, because it just came out recently and I'm very excited about it, is Polis, which is a new history of the ancient Greek city-state from the early Iron Age to the end of antiquity. Which is apparently absolutely amazing. Like, absolutely, absolutely amazing. I saw this recommended in... Who recommended this? It's someone I follow that's like an academic that's working on a book. I follow too many people. I need to look into it. But this I've heard is absolutely amazing. And I really love city-states. At some point I want to do, like, city-states, you know? Like, isn't this just a nice looking book? It's a nice looking book. So I just have a lot of things I want to read, which is another reason why I need to pace myself, because this year I've probably done more reading of nonfiction than fiction. And not that that's a problem, but I tend to, like, when I get into these, like, I'll be like, oh, reading this gets so many ideas, and then, like, I don't do other things. So I need to pace myself now that I know this is, like, not just a one-time thing. Like, at first it was like, oh, well, yeah, I need to read these just so I can get this going. And now it's like, no, I really enjoy doing this. I really enjoy doing this academic research, and especially with what I'm working on, I want to do it in a very intentional way that, like, that you can learn a lot about actual culture and society without it just being such an abstraction that it's maybe could hurt people's understanding of real things, and also doesn't give you that flexibility. Like, I feel like just tying in that personal side of it that, like, that I'm getting from all of this over just, you know, like, the deterministic side of it. It just gives you so much room to make things so much more deep and colorful and interesting, and I'm really into it. So I need to work on that. I have so many books. Like, that's not even all the ones I have. Like, I'm just staring. Like, I have so many. Which ties me into, you'll see this has changed. I now have a love sack because I wanted a cozy corner in here. And right now I still have my maps up over there. Those might get replaced with just swords at some point. I don't know. But my husband's computer desk here is going to go downstairs, and I have another bookcase that I'm going to put together and put there, and that's so that I can move all my, like, research books there for easy reference, because right now they're just everywhere, and I need more space. So we're going to do that. But to move on real quick, wow, this video is almost 30 minutes. This is just, I thought this was going to be like the start of a vlog, but no, this is just going to be a video on me planning for Q4 and figuring out what I'm doing with my life. Oh, something interesting I've decided I'm going to do, and I've been talking with some people about this, but for my cultural world building guide series, what I'm going to do is once I get through these next few videos, I am going to, I don't know if it'll be like as part of the video series or as sort of like a side thing that, like, an accompaniment, but I'm going to go through and build out 3 different, I think, worlds, like high fantasy style worlds at different levels, and just kind of talk about how my process ties into all of this, because I'm very much like, I want to come at it from the story focused way, which is not how my guide actually works. Like, my guide is like everything, and then knowing all those things, I tend to really focus in on what I actually build and do for my stories, because I don't have time to build worlds to this depth, like the whole world for every story. Like, that's just not something that would make sense for me with the types of stories I write. So what I like to do is really focus on it, which if you've seen some of my videos on my current, like, planning my project, you'll kind of get the idea of that. But I want to take the guide series and then take 3 example worlds and be like, okay, like, these are the type of things we want to, like, cultures or stories we want to tell. Maybe I'll do, like, a couple of live streams where we kind of figure out the details of what those are going to be together. And we're going to figure out, okay, like, what kind of world building are we actually going to do for that? And we're going to make sure it's, like, kind of different things so we can show examples. And we're going to step through it and have, like, themes tie in different ways, and, like, the plots and the characters, and, like, I don't know how much I'll actually do all of the world building. Like, I'll probably do all the high level stuff. But just to give an idea of how you can take this super intense guide series and like not spend 18 years for every single book if you're trying to write like a book a year, and also how you can make it really intentional for the story. Because I know some people go world to story, and sometimes I do that, but like this process I've been really focusing on is more like story to world. But we'll get there. But anyway, okay, so what I've done for world building is, I'm actually going to show this to you. Whatever, I'll show it to you. So I made this list, which is basically going through all the to-dos so far in my draft, because like as I've been writing the Craft Potion book, I've just been writing all the to-dos of the things I still need to build out, which is kind of, they're the things that I struggle with doing on the spot. And so I've kind of organized those into sections. So I have stuff that's like very like cultural or societal. I have ones that are specifically for the society's conlang, ones that are environmental, ones that are for the potion system, the spell language, geopolitical, religion, and then like main plot things. And I think what I want to do is look through my outline, which is on that board, my rough outline, go through that, add more things to this list. Not everything, because I like the idea of figuring out the specifics as I'm writing it. Like, I'm enjoying that this time, like we're playing with that. And then I want to go through and for each of these kind of figure out how I want to go about it, find videos. I have been making playlists on things to give me ideas and ways to think about it, and like examples or certain books I want to read with it just to give me ideas. And then go through and like expand these things out, hopefully from that place of being really inspired and having all these ideas and everything. So I think that's what I'm gonna do, is expand this list, and then I can kind of start setting it up where I can work on any part of it, depending on what I'm inspired to like read or listen to or think about, and see how that goes for me. It's definitely less structured than I've done before in the actual like world building phase, but I think this will work. I hope. I also really need to expand one of my maps. Really need to actually do that. But yeah, so I have all these plans, all these thoughts, and I need to just get back in the flow of things again. And I'm really hoping Q4 is going to be, I'm trying out some different things, some different ways of doing stuff, and I don't think it's going to be perfect or right, but I'm hoping it'll give me enough of an idea that then I can, you know, continue to do some of these things going forward. And I'm excited. I really am excited. Like, I cannot express to you how much fun I've been having. Like, obviously I haven't been doing much this past month, but like just thinking about all the things that I had been doing and that I get to pick up doing, I'm really enjoying drafting this book. It's a lot of fun. I'm really enjoying doing the critiquing with my writing group. Like, they've been giving me so many good ideas on my book, and I've gotten really, really good feedback on all of my action scenes. Like, they're like, oh, like, your action scenes are always great. Like, they're so interesting and engaging, and like they flow really well, and the pacing is great. And I'm just like, that used to be huge problem for me, like huge problem. In my first book, that was atrocious. And now that I've done like all of my like sword fighting research and reading like manuals and like understanding how sword fighting works and reading like books on like Robert McKee and Bassem El-Wakil, I think that's how you pronounce it, like their book on action, and like the fact that I'm making progress and I'm learning things and I'm doing things better is awesome. And I'm sure I still have a long way to go, but like just knowing I did a good thing in that one little area is very inspiring, and I'm excited. And yes, I think I should probably end this video now or I'm going to talk forever. But yes, I will see you in the next one.